From the beast about to strike, you know it's selling. Feeling nice, so let me hold you tight and share up together, better.
I have something I want to tell you. I'm not like other guys. But you knew that already. Always a good time to hear little Michael Jackson's Thriller. It's the perfect month for that, no matter what horror movie theme we're talking about. But welcome. This is the Fright Club Podcast.
I'm Hope Madden.
And I'm George Wolf, and we're from madwolf.com. And we are back doing Fright Club live at the Gateway Film Center on High Street in Columbus, Ohio, in front of a great crowd, as we always have. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. And actually, I was thinking of, for the category, this month, I was trying to think of a better song, but then the other reason we're playing this is because I don't know if you heard about this, but the guy that wrote that song, Rod Temperton, he just died like a week ago, and he wrote all kinds of songs. Not only that, but he wrote "Rock with You," a bunch of songs for Michael Jackson, and he started back in my day. He was with a disco group called Heatwave, and so we thought we'd give him a little bit of homage there by playing Thriller. And of course, you just love to see Thriller.
I do love to see Thriller. I love this video, and I may have mentioned, you may have heard me say this before, so I thought that I liked Michael Jackson when I was a little kid. Like, I had posters, and I thought that I loved Michael Jackson until I saw this video, and I'm like, no, that's the one I like. I had the biggest crush on zombie Michael Jackson. I can't even tell you. I was madly in love with zombie Michael Jackson. And my friend Jenny Brickner had the VHS tape, the making of Michael Jackson's Thriller, when we were little. And I have a twin sister, Joy. Hope and Joy. Go ahead, laugh. And Joy and I would go to Jenny Brickner's house, and we would watch the tape of the making of Michael Jackson's Thriller, and we would scream. They would go, diggity, diggity, diggity. But we'd go, ah! We would scream and scream. And while that's my childhood.
And while this was going on, at the same time, I was in a college dorm hitting a ball. And probably thinking to myself, you know what, dude? Your future wife is screaming right now as a little girl at Michael Jackson's Thriller video. And then I felt like a big perv and hit the bong again. So that's my Michael Jackson Thriller story, which is another heartwarming reason that we wanted to play this video. But actually, the theme this week, we're going to talk about zombie comedies. But before we get to that, we're going to watch one, of course, tonight, as we always do for Fright Club Live. A monumental event happened in our life this past week, and I think in the lives of a couple of you. We saw The Greasy Strangler. And, boy.
It was life-changing.
It was life-changing. It's a capital WTF
yeah, it is.
For this movie. If you haven't seen it, you know what? Just do.
Just do it. Just do it.
I was telling Brandon, I'm glad you actually wrote the review for it on our website, madwolf.com, because I probably couldn't figure out what rating was I going to give it. I don't know. I have no idea. So I'm glad you had a more concrete.
I was less conflicted. I loved it. I
think I did because I sure quoted it all weekend.
All weekend. I mean, potato. He kept saying potato.
It's so nuts.
You must have 3 drinks.
Do yourself a favor and see it. But
you'll be shit scared. I'm sorry. I have to stop it. But
stop it.
You have to
You're
see
giving
this
it away.
You have to see this movie.
It's so crazy. And especially if you like Merkins. You know what a Merkin is? Look it up. There's plenty of Merkins in Greasy Strangler.
That's a selling point.
It's Merkintastic. But we did get some great feedback last week, and now I forget what the theme was last week.
It was marital discord, you jackass. Just kidding. It was all
not that there's any in this podcast. Yeah, it was marital discord. We did. In fact, John Dean, who's here tonight, he
was 2 weeks in a row. John Dean's been unhappy with our list.
Well, it's because he said that we should have The Shining, but really we could have The Shining in just about every week, really.
And we tried to, and then Knack Mac bitches at us. So There's no pleasing you people.
There's not.
And then Dark Dave pointed out, and on the one hand, I want to go, it's true. So the whole movie is built on marital discord. He wanted to see The Dentist. But The Dentist sucks so bad that I really would have had to dug deep to, there really would have had to be nothing else worth watching for that to be on there. And why is The Dentist worth watching? Mark Ruffalo Two-time Oscar nominee Mark Ruffalo stars in The Dentist. He wears like a pink cardigan. He's actually not. He's great. And
that's the
then
thing. It's
all
funny.
of a sudden you're like, acting?
I know.
The hell?
When you see that scene come up, it's like, Meryl Streep just wandered into a Mexican soap opera.
Yeah.
You're like, what's that guy right there? Like you said, he's actually acting. And I forgot he was in that, but I remember the scene now because we've used it before on the show. So anyway, thank you for that. Was that all the major?
Yeah, those were the only two real big complaints.
Okay.
About the marital discord.
So not too bad.
Podcast.
That was a fun one. But we move on to zombie comedies, and it's a good one because we're going to see one we've talked about before for a variety of reasons. It's a special export.
It is.
And we'll hold on to that because it's not number 5. What is number 5 is one that just made our dancing. It just made our dancing top 5.
It did.
A few weeks ago, and it's The Return of the Living Dead.
They only come out at night. They're mean, rude, and dead. Not them. Them.
There's 100 of those things out there.
How many did you say?
100?
The dead are refusing to remain buried.
What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? We're gonna call the boss.
They've come back to life. They're hungry. And they're not vegetarians.
The graveyard out there is full of people coming out of the ground.
They're back from the grave and ready to party.
It's party time!
The Return of the Living Dead.
You know what I love about that? The tagline, because according to the book, The Complete History of the Return of the Living Dead, the guy who came up with that tagline, they're hungry and they're not vegetarians, was the creator of The Simpsons, Matt Groening.
Nice.
Isn't that great?
That is great.
Because it's a great tagline. The guy's smart.
So prepare to be pissed is basically the theme that I'm about to, because there are like 100,000 zombie comedies. There are so many zombie comedies. And sometimes I'll do a fuzzy math and we'll have like maybe 6 on the list. But for the live ones, we try to keep it short. And so I didn't. So this took the spot of whatever it is you were hoping to see.
Dead Alive, probably.
Shush. So, and one of the main reasons is that it's really one of the first zombie comedies. There were very few before this. And it's also really pivotal in a lot of reasons because it's the first one where they openly eat brains. It's the first one where a zombie says the word brains. And it's also co-written by the guy who produced The Night of the Living Dead, which is just a great pedigree. And, of course, it was directed by the guy who wrote Alien.
Dan O'Bannon.
Dan O'Bannon.
That just, first time I realized that just freaked me out.
Yeah.
It's crazy. He did Alien and Aliens and that one segment in Heavy Metal. He's got quite the resume to think that he directed this.
But it's great. It's really very funny. And one of the things I love about almost every horror film that came out in 1985 is there is inexplicably a group of punks, which is awesome. And this one really has a great soundtrack to go with it as well. But also, it is funny. I mean, it's not the kind of funny that you usually like.
What are you saying?
Well, you're highbrow. That's what I'm saying.
She got out of that, didn't she? Your highbrow?
But it's funny. It's really funny. And, of course, it has the very memorable, speaking of Merkin, Linnea Quigley naked dancing scene. Just
Woo. She sure was naked.
Just leg warmers and a Merkin. That's all
right.
she's got on. And that god-awful wig. That was the worst wig.
Yeah,
But
it's bad. But you know what else I love about this movie, trivia-wise, is the German title of this movie translates into "Damn it, the zombies are coming," which is great. And the Danish title translates into "The dead don't care."
Oh.
So both of those, I'm in.
And I think they're both true. I mean, that's a realistic reaction, I think.
And they kind of play up the comical aspect of the movie.
Yeah.
But they're just funny titles.
But it was one, I mean, it's not a great film. It's a fun film. It's kind of a waste of time film. But it's just one of those, like, turning points, because prior to Night of the Living Dead, most zombie movies were sort of this voodoo kind, right? And then Romero turned it into flesh-eating zombies, right? Like back from the dead, they bite you turn into zombies. And then this was the next one that I think changed the trajectory of the zombie film, even though it's a much lighter film than something like White Zombie or Night of the Living Dead. But it's super fun. It has a great soundtrack, and it's quite enjoyable.
And it's got punks.
It's got punks. I love punks.
All right, so that's number 5 from 1985, The Return of the Living Dead, taking the place of whatever your favorite was. And number 4 from 2009, this one answers the question, why did it take so long for us to get zombie Nazis? And it's Dead Snow.
super fun. I love this movie so much. And it's funny, it came out the same year as Cabin in the Woods, and they're both very similar. They're both really very funny, and they both just make fun of all the same Cabin in the Woods tropes. But this one is, I think, one of the things that makes this movie work so well is the snow, because there's one scene of, sort of the old geezer, and he's camping in the snow. He's snow camping, which is just idiocy, really, regardless of who you are. But it's this beautiful image of the side of the mountain and all the snow and this light from within this white tent, and all of a sudden just fucking blood everywhere. And blood really pops on snow.
It pops.
It does. It pops. It's gorgeous.
I love this too. I'd be honest. I probably would have moved this up maybe a little higher on the countdown if it was just mine. But we all know it isn't. But it's a lot of fun, and the look of it. I love the look, and we're not gamers, but I can really tell from the look, especially of that first Nazi zombie you see. It was inspired from Nazi zombies in Call of Duty. Any Call of Duty players? Is that no anyone? But you can
Come on, nerds, what's up?
You can kind of see that one, the first one that walks out on the trailer, has that look about him, which is very cool. I like you. I love how the blood pops with the white snow and just how everything is done. I think this one is definitely one of my favorites. Yeah,
it's super fun and really funny, and it's not the first zombie Nazi zombie movie. I think the first one was called Zombie Lake, which is French.
Oh, I didn't know about that one.
If you're interested, so there are a lot of underwater zombies, and like the nakedest zombie, she's very naked. And then there's another one which is terrible called Shockwaves. It's so bad, but it's bad in a good way. But this is the best one, and it's the funniest one. It also has a really good sequel, Red versus Dead.
Yeah.
Which is fun as well, but did not make this list.
And this is actually the Nazi zombies in this are a combination of a regular zombie, the pop culture zombies, and also an ancient Norse mythical being known as the Draug, or Draug. It's an undead being who would inhabit graves, often the graves of important men, as they often had treasures in them.
Oh.
Which from what's the one you just saw with the folklore? The movie
The Demon,
yeah. So we've seen some movies recently in the last few years.
Dybbuk.
Borgman was another one.
Borgman.
Kind of creepy that dealt with folklore. So this one brings that aspect of it.
Greasy Strangler.
Got to get off the Greasy Strangler.
I can't help it.
But this one, yeah, a lot of fun. And I'd forgotten about Red versus Dead. That's fun too. So that's from 2009. Dead Snow, number 4 on our Nazi zombie list. Well, we can come up with that one time.
We totally can.
Maybe later, but on our zombie comedy list. Leading us up to number 3, the one we're going to see here in just a few minutes from 2011, Juan of the Dead. Juan of the Dead. So once again, we got a group of slackers, and they face an army of zombies, and the Cuban government and media claim the living dead are dissidents revolting against the government. And it's still Cuba's only zombie movie?
It
or
is.
Just the first one?
It is Cuba's only zombie movie.
All right.
And it's hilarious. I mean, we're not just showing it because it's Cuba's. It's really, really, really funny. And it's so Cuban. Like, I love that they never say zombie. They just call them American dissidents or dissidents, capitalist dissidents, or paid dissidents by the United States. It's just hysterical. Even Juan and his friends, they never refer to them as zombies. And then he's just such a great character because he just finds a way to make money off whatever is going on, and so that's. We don't want to talk too much about the movie. He's giving me the evil eye. He's like, shut up.
No,
but
not too much, because we'd never want to talk too much about the one we're going to show in case you haven't seen it. But a little background, the director has said that the English-speaking character's unspoken plan was to steal the yacht Fidel Castro used to sail to Cuba from exile in Mexico and then use it to sail off the island. So that's kind of unspoken, but some nice background, even to know before you see the movie.
Yeah, I mean, everything about it is fascinatingly rooted in Cuba. And then there's also, there's a great soundtrack, and toward the end there's some really great cartoonish, like comic book style animation that is just awesome. But the group of heroes in the movie, they're hysterical. And I'm not going to say anything else about it. But
all right.
They do funny things.
And we'll see that in just a few minutes. Juan of the Dead, number 3 on our list, which sounds a lot like the title for our number 2 movie from 2004, Shaun of the Dead.
Although no one official is prepared to comment, religious groups are calling it Judgment Day.
It is vital that you stay in your homes. Avoid all physical contact with the assailants.
So, what's the plan? Bash him in the head, that seems to work out.
Here they come!
What we'll say about this, the same thing we say about all these. It's just so much fun. This movie is a blast.
It really is. It's so clever. And Edgar Wright is actually a really brilliant director. In ways that I think people don't necessarily immediately recognize. The way time passes, the way movement happens. This is just a phenomenally well put together movie from the beginning to end.
Yeah, and just from when it came out, everybody loved it. I mean, even George Romero loved it. Quentin Tarantino said it was one of the top 20 films made since 1992. And check this, back in 2011, the film was voted by BBC Radio the second favorite movie of all time. What was number one? The Shawshank Redemption.
God, overrated.
Everybody loves that
I know,
movie.
I don't even understand
Everybody
it.
just goes nuts for that movie. It's all right, but come on. Anyway, back to Shaun of the Dead. It's part of that, what do they call it? The Cornetto trilogy, right? The ice cream trilogy.
Right, with Hot Fuzz and World's End.
Yeah.
But this is the best one because there's zombies in it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of slackers forced to, save the day a little bit and defend their turf.
Well, just to circle back to Dawn of the Dead, one of the things that I loved about it, when I first saw it, I thought, that's a ballsy title because it immediately compares you not only to Shaun of the Dead, but to Dawn of the Dead, both Dawns of the Dead even. And I thought, that's a pretty high bar to set, but both of the zombie comedies in this list more than live up to it. I mean, they're hilarious. And the way Shaun of the Dead works, lovely odes. I mean, it's so affectionate for zombie films, for George Romero in particular, but also just for, kind of a slacker generation. It's just adorable.
Well, and speaking of Romero, he was so impressed with the movie that he asked Simon Pegg to be in Land of the Dead from 2005.
Which was not nearly as good as Shaun of the Dead.
But that's pretty high praise.
It is.
He liked it so much he wants you to be in the movie.
He also wanted John Leguizamo to be in the movie, though. So.
Well, then there's that. But, this one it kind of sets the stage for a lot of movies that came after, even maybe not horror comedies, but just certain comedies have that, at least to me, that Shaun of the Dead feel.
Yeah, and actually it sparked a big wave of British zombie comedies, Doghouse, and Cockneys versus Zombies, which is really fun. I actually hate the movie Doghouse. I hate it. So I say that out loud because I know that I'm going to get a bunch of shit for it because a lot of the people who listen to this podcast like that movie.
Hot take.
Cockneys versus Zombie I like, though. But, I mean, they're, and then just a ton of British horror comedies. Some of them are great, Need It Forever. I mean, there's just something super fun about the style of comedy that British filmmakers have brought to horror.
Yeah, and that one's a lot of fun. Number 2 on our list, Shaun of the Dead, and really only one can beat that. And of course, it's the great Zombieland from 2009.
Welcome to Zombieland.
My mother always told me, someday you'll be good at something. I mean, I don't think she could have guessed that something would be zombie killing. What do you think? Zombie kill of the week?
Whoa.
You guys want some Purell?
Yes. Yeah.
Time to nut up or shut up.
I had a big poster that said that hang in my office at my last job.
And so you were Employee of the Month.
Routinely.
I love this movie, and remember, it got us great extra points because when our son was a senior in high school, we got in charge of putting together some sort of all-night party where they played. Anyway, moral of the story is we showed this movie, and all
rented
the
a theater,
kids loved us.
And first on the big screen, they got to play one of the shoot zombie video games on the big screen, and then we played this movie, and it was a big hit.
Which actually, the director Ruben Fleischer, not only has he said that he was inspired to make this movie by Shaun of the Dead, the Zombie Kill of the Week was left over from the script's origin as a TV pilot. So they kind of originally was worked in as a TV pilot, but then inspired to make it by the movie we just talked about, Shaun of the Dead. But it works so well. I love it.
Yeah, he's gone on to do nothing worth watching. The writers, however, right, they didn't do anything for a long time. Then they just did Deadpool, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
And has a lot of the same super flippant, irreverent humor that this movie does.
I keep hearing that there's a Zombieland 2 with everybody except Woody and, of course, Bill Murray. I don't know. We keep hearing that. If it's going to happen, I don't know.
I don't know. Without Woody Harrelson, this is really not a movie. I mean, all four of them are great, but Tallahassee he's one of my all-time favorite heroes in any horror film.
Yeah, it's so much fun, and it's a movie that was so much of a hit at the box office. It's the second highest grossing movie in the U.S. that begins with the letter Z. Second only to Zootopia.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Well, that was a good one.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Okay.
But just watching that trailer,
I'm trying to think of any other movie that starts with a Z.
Well, don't, because then it doesn't sound as impressive. But just watching that trailer, I want to watch it again right now. It's so cool.
I know.
Love it.
It's super funny. And there's a giant flaw in the narrative, which is that for whatever reason, to hide from zombies, they decided to turn on all of the lights at an amusement park. That's the dumbest idea ever. And yet, it just leads to like the greatest action in the whole movie.
When he's hanging on that ride and just shooting the machine gun, that's great.
Yeah, it's awesome. But then also it's very sort of emotional when he shuts himself in that kiosk and you're like, oh my God, he's going to die for them. But he doesn't because he kills everybody. It's awesome.
And you know what?
It's so great.
I have to correct myself. I got to check my notes here. Had that as far as Zombieland 2, according to these notes, Woody Harrelson would be part of it.
I'm in.
So that changes everything.
It totally does.
Yeah, you just can't see it without him.
No.
So
I don't see. No, Jesse Eisenberg can't carry a whole. No.
Think of that, though. Since then, everybody, all the star power in this, they've all been nominated for Oscars.
Yeah.
Pretty much everyone.
Yes.
It works. It works so well. And Zombieland, I think we're running out of time here. We got to get the movie on. Zombieland from 2009 is our number one. We're going to see Shaun of the Dead here in just a few. And next week, we're going to talk about, finally, popular demand. We're going to talk about
When Animals Attack. That's next week. Speaking of animals, Matt Weiner in the house.
Is he here?
Yeah. Yes.
All right.
So
one of our
part of the
contributing
Mad Wolf Pack.
writers.
Yeah. So you can read his stuff on madwolf.com. Look him up.
Yeah, welcome. And by the way, this podcast will probably be ready on madwolf.com probably by Monday.
Yep.
We hope so. And we hope to see you back here in November, the second Wednesday of November, the 9th. Do we know what the movie's going to be?
We do.
What is it?
May
is going to be next month.
Yay!
Yeah. See that?
Yay!
That's good stuff. So
it's a lovely romance.
We look forward to that. We look forward to When Animals Attack next week. And hit us up. Hit us up on Twitter, as always, the easiest way. We're at MadWolf, MADDWOLF, MadWolf Columbus on Facebook. And lots of ways to get a hold of us. But we got to get this movie rolling. We've got Shaun of the Dead coming up in a few, right?
That is correct.
All right. So great crowd. Gateway, thank you so much as usual. And until next week,
I'm Hope Madden.
I'm George Wolf, and this is the Fright Club Podcast.
Stay frightful, my friends.